Welcome to the Right Academy. I'm Matthew R. Miller. Today we're talking about character sketches. Now, I don't know if you were like me and played role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons growing up, you would make character sketches, kind of. You'd roll for the character stats, whatever strength, intelligence, blah, blah, blah. You'd have a character sheet, right? And that would tell you how your character would act and how they would do on the dice rolls. Well, when you're writing a book or a short story, any kind of writing, screenplay, you need to know your characters thoroughly and intimately. This is because that will create rich, complex, realistic characters, and that will help readers identify with them and be immersed in your world that you're creating. If a character is, one-dimensional, shallow, unrealistic, it's not fun to read, and readers will be taken out of the immersion and they'll put the book down. So a good way to know your characters thoroughly is to make character sketches. Now, there's no official formal way to do this. I'm going to share with you, I think, a good way that I think works, some suggestions. It's kind of like a little 4-part way of doing a character sketch. You might see other ways to do it too. Find what works for you, but here's one that works for me. First thing you want to do is decide on the physical description of your character. And I mean, think of everything. Skin type, skin color, hair, eyes, weight, height. Do they have any marks, pimples, freckles? Do they have a scar? Are they missing in a hand? Anything like that. How do they walk? What kind of a gait do they walk with? Are they tall and lanky with long strides, or are they short with little shuffle steps? How big are their hands? How big are their feet? What about their ears, their nose? Do they have any issues with body dysmorphia? Any health issues? Now, you might think, my goodness, is it really necessary to know how big my character's ears are in a story? Well, you might not use all of these in your book, okay? It's not that you have to describe every aspect of the character, because that's boring writing too. To talk about, go on and on for pages about each nostril, and no one wants to read that. But what it's going to do for you as the writer, well, first of all, you should have a physical description of some sort. The reader should know how your character looks. But for you, it's going to affect how the character interacts with the world. For example, in the book I'm currently writing, one of my characters has a big scar down her cheek, and she's very self-conscious about it. And so when people, make fun of her for it or bully her, or even when she's interested in a boy, she's a young lady, well, that affects it, right? It affects how she acts. She's a little shy, tries to hide that side of her face. So it's going to affect how the characters interact with the world that you create. And you want readers, to imagine how your characters look. It gives them immersion. It allows them to leave reality for a little bit and get into your world and just to enjoy the book. I don't know if you read the Harry Potter series. You know that the author J.K. Rowling goes on to describe Harry's scar, his glasses, Hermione's big, giant, fluffy hair, her teeth, and all this stuff. And it really gives you an idea in your mind of what you're dealing with. Now, some readers like to create their own images, which is fine. That's why I say don't overdo it on the physical description. And you can do this in ways of show, don't tell sometimes. For example, if they're super tall, instead of saying he was super tall, have him duck under a door frame or something like that. But physical description, very important. Suggestion on ways to do this, I go online and I find photos of people who I think kind of look like my characters. I don't know, I'll go and say 25-year-old woman, black hair, Asian, goth, whatever, and then something will come up. I'll look at all the pictures. Okay, there we go. That looks like the person I had in mind. I will save these images on a file. Now, I use the writing software Scrivener, and there's places to make character sketches. And if I ever want to try to remember what does my character look like, I'll go back and look at the photo. It'll bring it fresh into my mind. So that's a suggestion. 2, what is your character's background? What has their life been like before, we enter the story? And the more details, the better. Where is their hometown? Who were their parents? Did they grow up with parents? What were their parents like? What was their family like? How many siblings did they have? How many cousins did they have? Were they close to their cousins? What was their childhood house like? Big, small? Can you imagine the layout in your mind? Who were their childhood friends? Who were their friends in high school, young adult? Did they have pets? What kind of pets? What were the pets' names? What schools did they go to, and what grades did they get? Were they good students, bad students, mediocre? What about it? Did they go to university? How'd they do there? What did they major in? When they were young adults and adults, what about their work life? Did they have a job? How did they do at it? Did they enjoy it? Why did they get into it? Do they have any romantic relationships in their past? If so, who? How? Why did they break up? Have they ever been married? Did they grow up rich or poor? Have they struggled with addictions or vices like drinking, smoking, drugs? What about their sex life? Do they have one? Does it matter? What about their average daily schedule? Everything. You should know your character's background as well as you know your own. And the reason for this, again, you're not going to necessarily write about all of this in the book. You may not ever mention the fact that the character's dog as a child was a black and tan dachshund, standard size, whatever. But when you have this in your mind, the character's background will affect who they are in the present during your story, and it will affect how they react to the plot and the challenges and the other characters, right? We're all products of our background, and so this will affect the entire story. So if you have characters and you don't know who they are, where they come from, you don't know their background, well, you're going to put them in situations and they're going to act either unnaturally or inconsistently, and readers can pick this up. In chapter 1, they acted lonely, but now I see that they came from a big loving family where they were never alone, so it doesn't make sense. Suggestion: go as far as you want. Map out their hometown. Map out the streets. Map out their childhood home, their neighborhoods. Do sketches of their friends, their childhood friends. If you can write 1 or 2 pages summarizing their background like you're writing a biography, then that's pretty good. If you can't do that, then you don't know enough. Can you go overboard in this? I don't know. Depends on the individual writer. If you spend a year, detailing every nail in every part of their house, okay, maybe that might be a bit much, but you should know your character's background thoroughly. Number 3, your character's personality. What are their emotions? Are they someone who often gets scared or falls in love easily or has a great sense of humor? What is their worldview? Are they religious? Are they philosophical? Are they practical? Are they cynical? What beliefs do they have about the world, about other people, about right and wrong, about religion, about how the world works? How are their social interactions? When they talk to people, do people generally like them? Are people scared of them? Are people confused by them? Do they have any social anxiety or social disabilities? Do they have trouble picking up on humor, and so they take everything too seriously? What are their speech patterns like? How does this give? What kind of impression do they give to other characters? How do they treat other people? Are they kind? Are they abrasive? Are they, bad boy with a heart of gold? Are they antisocial? Are they sociable? You need to know all this stuff. And what are their personality strengths and weaknesses? This is very important because our personalities as people really influence our relation to the world and to other people. And so, have you ever known someone who's always angry and grumpy and, just complains and no one wants to be around them? Okay, well, that's their personality. So you need to know this because your character's personality will determine the choices they make in the world and the story that you create. And readers will pick up on this. It needs to be consistent, okay? Now, I know characters change over time, and that's an important part of the hero's journey. So it's possible if your character first starts off sarcastic and cynical, by the end of the story, they're happy and well-adjusted. Yeah, that's great. You want that. But you want it to be consistent. You want there to be reasons for it. Here's a suggestion I have. It works for me, and it may not work for you. I like performing. I like acting, so I'll actually act out and imitate my characters. I'll pretend I am that person. I'll walk around my living room alone. No one else sees me. I'll talk like they do. I will react like they do. I'll pretend I'm in a situation. The gestures, the motions, the facial expressions, their personality. This will help you really intimately get to know your character. Number 4, what are your character's struggles and challenges? What do they struggle with? Do they struggle with giving in to temptation? Do they struggle with a memory from childhood that they just can't get rid of? Do they have excessive guilt from the past? What do they struggle with? What in their lives must they overcome? Remember, it's very important in a story for there to be challenges, struggles, and for the characters to have to overcome them or to not be able to overcome them and have that change the character as a person. How will they show these struggles and challenges? How will they face them throughout the plot of your story? What obstacles will they face? What traits will they use from their personality to overcome or not overcome the obstacles? What are their personal demons, so to speak? What do they really wrestle with when they're lying in bed at night? What keeps them from sleeping? What are their worst fears? What are their greatest hopes? These are all part of struggles and challenges. And the very important question, how will they transform throughout the book based on these struggles and challenges? Suggestion to help this, for each plot point, now remember, a story as plot, you have scenes and they want to be building up to something. Write out a little sketch, a little paragraph maybe, or think about it, of how you want the character to approach that plot point, how you want them to struggle with it, whether you want them to overcome it or not, to fail, and how that contributes to the character's overall transformation in the story. The thing to remember here, and this applies to all your characters, obviously spend more time with your main characters than you do with, a person walking across the street in the background and you never see them again. This is for your main characters, spend a lot of time with this, and your minor characters too, especially for the antagonist, the villain, and the protagonist, the hero. Overall, keep in mind that flawed characters, and I mean real people who, like us, have flaws, who transform over the story to become better and overcome those flaws, or maybe you want the opposite, they become worse. These kind of characters are authentic, they're deep, they're realistic, they're interesting. The reader can identify with them. And the goal of all of this is to immerse the reader into your world that you're creating. And this is one tool, a great way to do it, is to have really well-developed characters. Otherwise, the writing is just flat and boring. Please check out my Patreon in the link below. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. I'm Matthew R. Miller. You're watching the Write Right Academy.